If you're struggling to get through the day without drinking multiple cups of coffee, then it's time to consider that you have a coffee addiction and it might be causing terrible side effects in your life. If you do want to quit, then continue watching this video and I will break down my entire process on how I quit coffee after being addicted for 5 years. This video is comprised of 4 main sections: why I started drinking coffee, why I quit, how I quit, and how I felt after quitting. Of course, it doesn't take rocket science to figure out why I started drinking coffee. Like any young adult, the primary reason is stress, society, expectations, the pressure, the need for academic validation. At the time when I started, I was in high school, and for me to continue getting high grades, being a student athlete, living up to all these expectations, I needed a boost. So I started drinking coffee in my senior year of high school, and then I continued throughout all the years of college, because when I got to college in the US, it did not make things easier. I became reliant on the drug, and it got to the point where I was drinking up to 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day.
How many cups have you had this morning?
None.
Plus?
5, but yours is better.
You have a problem.
Yes, I do.
So over the years of being addicted to coffee, I tried many times to quit, to stop drinking coffee, and it would work. After a stressful semester, the break would allow me to relax and I would stop drinking coffee for a while. But as soon as things got hectic, my brain was wired to think, I need coffee to get through the day. I need coffee to be productive. I was attaching positive results to drinking coffee. It got to the point where as soon as I felt tired, I would reach for coffee instead of finding out the real reason why I was tired. So coffee kind of became a band-aid to the wound. There are many things that can contribute to why you feel fatigue, why you don't have enough energy throughout the day. I would just drink another cup of coffee. And so of course, I was dehydrated, I was feeling muscle soreness, I was having all kinds of side effects. In the morning, I was very irritable, like no one could talk to me for like the first 15 minutes of the morning. When I get up, if I do not have coffee, I am not the best person to be around. And there was one point where I thought, do I want this drug to control my life? Like, do I want to be this person who's so attached to something that I literally cannot function if it's not in my system when I wake up? I would notice that my energy levels would change drastically throughout the day. So of course you have your morning cup of coffee and you feel high energy, you feel alert, you feel ready for the day. And then when it gets to midday or around half day, you feel like a zombie. You feel like you're the walking dead, you're tired, you're exhausted, you feel like you cannot move forward. And that's when you need the next cup of coffee. And that continues the cycle of drinking coffee. Another thing I realized with coffee is that I already had issues with anxiety before, and the more coffee I drank, the more jitters I would feel. It got to the point where I would start having panic attacks while I'm studying or really stressed about school. So I decided that something had to change. I wanted to change the way I feel when I wake up in the morning. I wanted to be able to do normal tasks with friends without being the only one that needs to go to a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts to get a coffee. It's hard when you're struggling to get through the day and you can't access coffee and you feel all the side effects. You start feeling low and then you become this grumpy old woman. Now, being realistic, sometimes knowing that something is negatively affecting you is not enough for you to stop indulging in that habit or that substance. You need a little extra kick. So for me, the extra kick came from doing additional research. So one thing I found that was very surprising to me is that coffee doesn't actually give you energy. It doesn't give you energy in the sense of when you eat foods and you get fuel and your body feels energized throughout the day. So in simple terms, coffee triggers your stress hormones. And as humans, when we are stressed, we become more alert, or concentration increases, we're more productive because this is our survival instinct. That jolt that you feel is us operating under stress, and that cannot be a good thing. And coffee responds differently to different people. I'm not saying that you need to quit coffee, but if you find yourself struggling with some of the side effects that I've mentioned, then maybe it's something that you need to look into. Coffee is not inherently bad. It has many health properties, it has antioxidants, it has a lot of things that could be beneficial to us, but at the end of the day, anything in excess is bad. Now, before you try to quit coffee, it's important to know that coffee is not the only substance that contains caffeine. Coffee does have high levels of caffeine in there, but in quitting coffee, you can slowly reduce the amount of caffeine you intake daily until you get to the point where you don't need caffeine at all to survive throughout the day. So how did I quit coffee? So the period of my life when I decided to quit coffee wasn't ideal. So during this time, I was studying for my master's degree, and I was also applying to future jobs after graduation. And so it was very stressful. It was important to me that I found a way to quit coffee without feeling withdrawal symptoms. I didn't have the luxury to just quit cold turkey and sleep the entire day and not do anything until I got over the initial slump of what it means to quit coffee. First, before anything else, I decided that I need to reduce the number of cups I had each day to one. 1 cup of coffee in the morning, and that should be sufficient. Whatever, wherever, whenever in the day I would crash and hit rock bottom because of that 1 cup of coffee, I would have to live through that. So I forced myself to drink only that 1 cup in the morning. Whenever I crashed, I would look like a zombie throughout the rest of the day, but at least I was a zombie that was making progress. So after I was able to do that, that was brutal. And when I got to the point where I felt I was ready to take the next step, I did. So how I quit coffee without withdrawal symptoms is using decaf coffee. Now, decaf coffee has small traces of caffeine, but it is substantially less than what is in coffee. So every day, I gradually increased the amount of decaf I added into my morning coffee and less of the caffeinated coffee until one morning I was only drinking decaf and my body didn't really notice. I got throughout the day as normal, I was able to function, and at the end of the day, I was surprised that somehow my body found energy on its own to do what needed to be done. And you'll surprise yourself. You on your own, you're not meant to be relying on a drug to function or to survive. You're very much capable of getting through the day on your own. It took around 2 weeks for me to completely get rid of caffeinated coffee in the morning. So now I only drink a cup of decaf. Now, the reason why decaf is such a common way for people to quit coffee is that it looks just like coffee. It kind of keeps you in your routine of drinking something warm in the morning. You feel like you haven't really changed anything. So here's the holy grail. Here is how I stopped drinking caffeinated coffee. This is what I have left of my decaf. So the goal here is once I finish this, so I've been through around, let's say, 2 containers of decaf. The goal is once I finish this bit, I will solely stick to drinking tea. So let's review how I felt after I decided to quit coffee. So to give you some perspective, I stopped drinking caffeinated coffee on September 16, 2022. Very, very recent. So at the time I'm recording this video, it's November 30th. So it has been over 2 months since I've quit coffee. So the first thing I noticed after quitting coffee is that, oh my gosh, in the morning, I feel like Sleeping Beauty that has been awoken by her prince. Well, that's a lie, I'm lonely, but like that grumpiness that I initially had in the morning where I hated everyone and I hated my life until I had a cup of coffee, I don't feel that way. I wake up peaceful like an angel. But I genuinely don't feel irritated in the mornings anymore. I still don't want to talk to anyone for like the first 10 minutes of waking up, but I think that's probably just because I'm not generally a morning person. The next thing I noticed is that inconsistent feeling throughout the day of having really high highs and then really low lows with coffee, I didn't feel that anymore. So I had one consistent mood, one consistent energy level throughout the day. It wasn't anything too crazy, nothing high, nothing low. It was kind of a nice in between, this constant state of I feel tired but not too tired, if that makes sense. I would say it also improved my sleep. So it became way easier to fall asleep because I didn't have caffeine in my system anymore. Normally, I would struggle with sleeping throughout the entire night. Like I would constantly wake up at different parts of the night. But after I stopped drinking coffee, I was able to sleep throughout the entire night, and I actually wake up feeling rested. I can also comment on anxiety. So I felt less jitters throughout the day, less anxious. But anxiety can be triggered by many different factors, and maybe caffeine made me a bit more on edge, but it isn't the only thing that contributes to anxiety. So it's not fair to say my anxiety vanished after I stopped drinking coffee, because that's not realistic. The last thing I want to mention is that even after I stopped drinking coffee and I see all the benefits, I still struggle to continue every day because I am constantly surrounded by coffee. I didn't realize how popular coffee was until I decided to stop. So I go to university right now. I'm completing my master's degree, and on university campus there are multiple cafes, multiple coffee shops. There's a Starbucks around every corner. There's this coffee shop, there's this, and coffee is so accessible and it's just there and you smell it on a college campus. It's really hard to stay on track, but I have to remind myself that, I started for a purpose and I have to continue. So maybe your environment might make quitting coffee extremely hard. Keep that in mind if you are going to try quitting coffee, that there are temptations everywhere. As I walk down every block, I run into a cafe, I smell coffee, and I miss what used to be, but I don't miss the side effects. If you are interested in learning how to develop and sustain a healthy habit, or in this case, stop a bad habit, drinking coffee, then you can check out my previous video on how to start and sustain your health journey. I think the points mentioned would be helpful in this journey. So that's all I have for you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Comment down below how coffee has affected your life, if you experience any side effects, and if you plan on starting this journey. I want to know what your experience with coffee has been like, and if you are considering quitting as well. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you again when I post my next video.